A comparison between Islam, Christianity, and Judaism and the choice between them, Part 18. They also ask attackingly, why does Islam permit circumcision? Before clarifying the Islamic position, one should take note that the practice of circumcision is one confirmed in Judaism and Christianity, as the Old Testament is part of the Bible. The passages refers to circumcision as the custom of the prophets and messengers. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. Genesis 21:4. Yet despite this we find that the Catholic Church rejects the idea of female circumcision. This confirms that revelation is not the source of their inspiration but rather their desires. It is increasingly clear that when the enemies of Islam reject an idea, they reject it not in principle but rather in opposition to Islam, and with the interest of spreading falsehood and corruption in the earth. The statistics to prove this is available for all to see, and higher than even Christians or Jews who live among the Muslim majority in the Muslim world. From among the health benefits of it is, as has only recently been discovered, the fact that it reduces the excess or additional amount of desire from the body. If it left, it can drive a human to his bestial nature, and the corruption of the society on the wider scale. The statistics also prove that the circumcised person is more hormonally balanced and his behavior is mainstream and not deviant. We even find suicides higher among the uncircumcised. They also ask attackingly, doesn't circumcision lead to a loss of sexual libido? The answer in short is absolutely no. In Islam, one is not prescribed to cut the complete part in question, but rather just a small section of it, in order to lessen the drive. And do ensure cleanliness. Leaving this part will cause other health issues, and all of these reasons can cause marital discord. This is confirmed when we look to some countries in the West to encourage the practice and see that the uncircumcised person is more prone to fall into illicit sexual relations. So glory be to Allah for the message of Islam and He Messenger of Islam. They also ask attackingly, why does Islam propagate the ruthless killing of animals and birds before you devour them? Isn't killing using the bolt method or shooting better for the animal? Firstly, when Islam ordered its adherents to slaughter, it was doing so for the greater benefit of the human. The blood that gushes out blood is a good media of germs, bacteria, toxins, etc. Therefore the Muslim way of slaughtering is more hygienic, as most of the blood containing germs, bacteria, toxins, etc. that are the cause of several diseases are eliminated. So it is from God's mercy that He guided us to slaughtering as a healthy way of preparing meat. Secondly, one should note that this method has also been proven to be the most effective, kill the animal in the shortest time and cause the least harm to the animal itself. Islam took step to ensure the protection of the animal. The animal has to be slaughtered with a sharp object, knife, and in a fast way so that the pain of slaughter is minimized. It should not be shown the knife or sharp object it will be killed with. The swift cutting of vessels of the neck disconnects the flow of blood to the nerve of the brain responsible for pain. Thus the animal does not feel pain. While dying, the animal struggles, writhes, shakes and kicks, not due to pain, but due to the contraction and relaxation of the muscles deficient in blood and due to the flow of blood out of the body. The blood has to be drained completely before the head is removed. The purpose is to drain out most of the blood, which would serve as a good culture medium for microorganisms. The spinal cord must not be cut because the nerve fibers to the heart could be damaged during the process, causing cardiac arrest, stagnating the blood in the blood vessels. So glory be to Allah who blessed us with this religion that cares for every part of our lives, even in our health and well-being, and peace and blessing be upon His Messenger Muhammad. They also ask attackingly, didn't the sword spread Islam? The answer is definitively no. The religion of Islam in its early stage demonstrate that it was spread by the word of mouth. The Prophet spent a number of years calling individuals and families. An example of that would be the story of the companion of the Prophet Abu Dhar, who after embracing Islam returned to his tribe and converted all of them. Likewise Musab ibn Umair's call to the tribe of Banu Ashhal, and the examples of the like of this are many. Muslims ruled Spain for about 836 years. The Muslims in Spain never used the sword to force the people to convert. Later the Christian Crusaders came to Spain and wiped out the Muslims. There was not a single Muslim in Spain who could openly give the adhan, that is the call for prayers. Did you see any armies land on Indonesia or Nigeria? Indonesia is a country that has the maximum number of Muslims in the world. The majority of people in Malaysia are Muslims. May one ask, which Muslim army went to Indonesia and Malaysia? Similarly, Islam has spread rapidly on the east coast of Africa. One may again ask, if Islam was spread by the sword, which Muslim army went to the east coast of Africa? Today you find many people embracing Islam in Europe and America. Are they being forced at knife point? From the clinical proofs is the following. Overall, the Muslims ruled Arabia for 1,400 years. Yet today, there are a million Arabs who are Coptic Christians, i.e. Christians since generations. If the Muslims had used the sword, there would not have been a single Arab who would have remained a Christian. This despite many of them becoming Muslim. In fact, history shows that Islam was a liberator for the Coptic Christians. As during the time the Muslims came into Egypt, the Coptics were under the assault of the Romans, who, even though believed in the same religion, believed in another denomination. You would find some of them claiming the other was deviant or claiming the others were astray. So when the Muslims entered Egypt, ending for the Coptics years of conflict with the Romans, Islam offered them the freedom to worship and have their festivities. The Christians, or at least the vast majority of them, embraced Islam, recognizing the clear similarities in their own tradition. This is why one finds up to today the camaraderie between these two religions present till this day. Had it been the case that the Muslims were forcing for them to become Muslim, you would not find a single Christian in Egypt today. So the notion that Islam forced the Christians of Egypt to embrace Islam is a false one. One should note that the sword was only used in situations of war where the spreading of Islam was being halted, or in defending the religion's core beliefs or its adherents if they come under attack. So the real sword of Islam is the invitation to Islam. Islam is increasing day by day and is the fastest growing religion in the world, and the statistics prove this idea. They also ask attackingly, why has Islam imposed the taxation on the non-believers? The jizya is a poll tax that is paid by the non-believing citizen who lives under the freedom and protection of the Muslims from any attack. Keep in mind that the Muslim already gives the annual alms tax from his property. And so it would be unjust to make the Muslim pay alone when the defense of a country everyone benefits from it. It should be noted that when any non-Muslim pays this tax, it is incumbent upon the Muslims of the country to defend him so long as he lived under the Muslims. To demonstrate this point further, here is a quote from Khalid ibn Walid. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. This is given by Khalid bin al-Walid to the people of Damascus. When the Muslims enter, they, the people, shall have safety for themselves, their property, their temples and the walls of their city, of which nothing shall be destroyed. They have this guarantee on behalf of Allah, the Messenger of Allah, on whom be the blessings of Allah and peace, the Caliph and the faithful. From whom they shall receive nothing but good so long as they pay the jizya. We find the commander of the believers, Abu Ubaidah, when he was unable to fulfill his promise to protect the people of the book from the Roman onslaught, he gave them everything they had given him. He justified this by saying, I took this in exchange for protecting you, but now that I am unable and don't have sufficient numbers, I have returned you money. History testifies to the fact that many of the Christians used to prefer to live under the leadership of the Muslims than the repressive Romans. Likewise, Jews have also historically flocked to Muslim areas, as happened with Islamic Spain. So this proves the just nature of Islam that laid down the poll tax payment on non-believers like the Muslims pay the alms tax. Likewise, this is reiterated when one sees that Islam then went on to excuse anyone who was unable to fulfill this payment because of weakness and poverty. All praises for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. They also ask attackingly, why does Islam kill the apostate having outwardly accepted Islam? Firstly, one needs to clarify that Islam doesn't punish the apostate who apostates from ignorance of a misconception or doubt that are frequently proposed by the disbelievers. It is also very difficult to conceive that a person whose father and forefathers were Muslim and who has a sound mind and decent intellect, except that he is completely immersed in his own word-off illicitness, or someone who has thrown himself into the waiting arms of Western culture and thought. A culture built around atheism and the belief that there is no accounting. Perhaps it is someone who lent his ear to someone who filled his head full of misconceptions and false arguments. Naturally, this dubious one would then give birth to the like of his uncertainties. As a result, the structure of the family and wider society is heavily undermined. Secondly, this is one of Islam's protective mechanisms, as there is a possibility that some of the hypocrites may infiltrate the ranks of the Muslims, like the Jews agreed to do at the time of the Prophet. They agreed to show outwardly their Islam, and as soon as the Prophet died they all denounced their new faith in order to cause people doubt in it. Allah unraveled their plan and they were unsuccessful in their bad intentions for the religion of Allah. Therefore, the rule of apostasy is a rule that ensures the freedom of people to select gods for themselves and religions. So it is upon the new believer to completely renounce the false religions properly and comprehensive way, so that he doesn't enter Islam half-heartedly. It should be noted as well that Islam doesn't order the killing of people who are considered hypocrites yet outwardly profess belief. The proof of that is the following. After the Prophet was sent a group of people who were hypocrites and their names were known to the Prophet, he did not take any action during his lifetime, as they were outwardly professing belief. even though they try their model best to try and deceive the believers, especially in wars. Despite all of this, the Prophet did not order them to be sentenced to death and left their private secret to Allah. Islam therefore gives them a balance between having a choice and leaving the choice a free one without compulsion, and putting in place legislation where the greater harm is possible if people are allowed to do as they please in terms of the defragmentation of the society. They also ask attackingly, is the Quran not taken from the Gospel? The answer is no. The suggestion can only be made by an ignoramus whose ignorance has completely blinded him. Here we need to refer to the following irrefutable proof: that the Gospel at the time of the emergence of the Prophet Muhammad had not even been translated into Arabic at that time. At the same time, the Quran was revealed in Arabic, so how can it be conceived that the Quran was somehow inspired by the Bible? These are utter lies that come from a deep hatred and jealousy of Islam. The beginning of every chapter in the Quran is in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most generous. It is from the likes of these verses that we learn more about the names and attribute of Allah. From this one we learn His oneness is also defined by His mercy. Whereas we find the Christians defining Him a Trinity of the Father, the Son and the Holy Ghost Spirit. Instead of glorifying Him as it is due to Him, we find descriptions that are untoward and unbefitting. This indicates without doubt that the claim that the Quran was inspired by the Bible is a ludicrous one that shows just how much hatred is in the holders of these fabricated ideas. It should be noted here that Muslims do not call themselves Mohammedans, rather this name was associated with the Muslims wrongfully by some of the disbelievers. Muslims do not worship Muhammad and so are not called Mohammedan, rather they worship Allah alone, removing from Him any lies and untruths. The Christians are however content at being called Christians, as they are in the most part worshippers of Jesus, claiming His divinity. The Messiah is nothing but a messenger of Allah who Allah selected to be a prophet, to give warning and glad tidings. He was aided in that invitation by miracles so that people would have no doubt in Him as a prophet. Glory be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. They also ask attackingly, what does it mean that the Quran was revealed in 7 variants of recital? The answer is as follows: the Quran was revealed to Muhammad in a number of variant recitals. This was to allow for the differing dialect of Arabic the tribes around the Arabian Peninsula spoke. Perhaps it would have been immeasurably difficult for one who has accustomed himself with speaking according to one of these variant dialects from birth to suddenly start to recite in a different variant, so it was from the grace and mercy of Allah that He reveled it, making it easily accessible and retrievable whenever needed in the hearts of the Arabs. It also proves the ability of the Prophet in reading in all of these variant, in order to allow them to read in what was more accustomed to them. He, the Prophet, mastered these various dialects despite only being aware of the dialect of Quraysh, the Meccan tribe. So his utterance of the different dialect is also a proof from amongst the miracle of this noble Prophet. Despite the fact that he was unlettered, we find that thousands of scholars have graduated from his school, from jurists to collectors of his prophetic traditions. So this is a clear explanation on why the Quran was revealed in 7 distinct recitals. Glory be to Allah, Lord of the world. One finds that there have been claims made against the Quran, or at least the idea has been brought forward that there are grammatical inaccuracies in the Quran. The refutation to such erroneous claims is as follows. It is accepted historical fact that the Quran was revealed in Arabic. And the Arabs are the foremost masters of their language. It is also known that the Quran was revealed at a time when the Arabs were at the pinnacle of their science. They had a working mastery of grammar, syntax, morphology, and rhetoric. How ludicrous then to suggest or even make mention that there are inaccuracies when the people most qualified to do that did not find any hint of a problem. Especially those who did not believe in the divine origin of the book. Despite all of the meager attempts to sideline Islam and expose mistakes or problem area or inexplicable thing, they had utterly failed. The Arabs failed to meet the challenge that was in the Quran, that is a call to them to bring the like of a single chapter, then even less a single verse. Instead they recognized the beauty of the words and the magnificence of its composure, and the majesty of the owner of the words. The question is, are we supposed to consider any sane person to be able to detract something that the most sophisticated generations left out in terms of errors? No, absolutely. So it is clear that the Quran is free from these empty attacks. For clarity's sake, one needs to understand that the preserve of grammar in Arabic is the concern with the final trilateral root letter of the verb. It should be noted, however, that each word can have multiple meanings, which does affect the spirit of the good meaning. Yet the complexities of Arabic and its mastery required in appreciating the Quran are not deterrents for those who try to attack. This erroneous idea should be removed from the heads of people once they see the truth for what it is. One finds that there have been claims made against the Quran. Why was it abrogated? Before a detailed explanation, one should return the question to them: why is it found in your scriptures? Jews believe in the Old Testament and Christians the New Testament. Yet they do not rely on it, instead they rely on the writing of Paul. What is shocking is according to the Christians the rulings in the Bible have all been abrogated. Despite, the commands of the Gospels must remain. They, the Christians, completely disregard verses like this in the interest of exposing Islam. The Christians are supposed to believe in both the public area to live in. If they say they do and live by the Bible, we should say to the gather all your priests as they should be killed for not magnifying the Sabbath. Another abrogation is the abrogation of the pig that used to be impure now suddenly is pure again. Clearly this is another example of the rule being changed. These are clear indicators that the books were altered by man. Jesus, Ulba, did himself confirm the continuation of this law of Moses, Ulba, till the end of time. In Matthew 5:17-19 we read, "Think not that I, Jesus, am come to destroy the law, or the prophets, I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven." This is confirmed in Luke 16:17. "And it is easier for heaven and earth to pass, than one tittle of the law to fail," etc. All of this was later abrogated by Paul with Galatians 3:13, "Christ hath redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us," and Hebrews 8:13, "In that he saith, a new covenant, he hath made the first old. Now that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready to vanish away," and Romans 3:28, "Therefore we conclude that a man is justified by faith without the deeds of the law." And Romans 3:1, "What advantage then hath the Jew? Or what profit is there of circumcision?" Clearly the contradictions are there for all to see. A brief look at the benefits of the abrogation that takes place in the Quran. Abrogation in the Quran is considered divine revelation and possesses great benefit for humankind. This is the opposite to the Bible, that was changed according to the whims and desires of people. Like not being circumcised has knock-on effect on the rest of society and encourages promiscuity as a result of a heightened state of arousal. From the great wisdom of abrogation. 1. Legislation gradually. This is as a mercy for humankind, like the prohibition on drinking alcohol. It was drunk in Arab society like water. So it was from the mercy of Allah that he prohibited it gradually as opposed to in one go. This is surely a mercy like for someone who is an addict needs to be weaned off. 2. If a particular situation required a specific judgment it was delivered, but the door remained open during the life of the Prophet for another verse to be sent on the same topic, which would be more suitable for the whole of humanity and be applicable in all times and places. 3. Understand on the part of the human, and so as a result of the recognition of the blessing he then glorifies Allah. There are numerous more benefits, but this will suffice to make the point clear. Glory be to Allah for the blessed law he sent to the people of his religion through the last and final messenger Muhammad.